Okay, so I'm going to get into watering. Why, when, and how? Why? They're plants. They need water. That's how they survive. Water and sunlight. I'm trying not to get dirt on my face. Wiping. Okay. So when I water, I am used to most of my plants already. New ones, I let them wait. When I get a new plant, I don't know when's the last time they got watered. If they were really dry when I picked them up, yeah, I might water them either that day or the next day. But if they were kind of wet when I got them, I want them to sit and wait. I don't want them to get root rot, which is when they sit in water. So I try to avoid root rot at all costs. I let my plants dry out. Some of them will show signs of really drying out that I have messed up on. I've missed, a watering here and there. But you learn as you go. This guy is doing great. There's one, brown tip on that one, maybe on another one. But he was just not in a good environment to begin with. Some of them have normal breaking and cracking and scars from transportation and where they came from before. So I like to let them sit and dry, really let them dry. So how you can tell if they're really dry, you can, if you want, pull them out of the soil. I'm not gonna do it with this because I just repotted it. But when I did first take it out of the nursery pot, it was really dry. Usually with a plant that's pretty established in its pot, you can pull it out and not a lot of soil will come off. You can check to see if there's any moisture still locked in the middle of the roots, and then you can let it wait a day or two, or as long as you need to let that really dry. Some plants like to be moist. It really depends on your plant. And you'll learn eventually which plants need what. So with my schedule, my watering schedule, it's kind of sporadic, but I have a few, especially my Marantas and Calatheas and Stramanthes, they like to be a little more watered than the rest of my plants. So how I check is I usually stick my finger in the soil. If it's not too compacted, I can stick my finger in the soil up to, my second knuckle, and if it's real dry, you'll feel it. The soil won't stick to your finger in chunks. It'll just be more dusty. You can also check the bottom hole down here. If you can fit your finger in there, you can kind of poke in there. Whenever it comes out, if it's still lumpy, like it's still wet, don't water it because the water will drain down. You can also use a chopstick and stick it in where the roots might be. Try not to destroy the roots. And let it sit for a little bit. You want to get further down into the pot and then pull it out. If it comes out a different color, like it's wet, it doesn't need to be watered. You can also use a moisture meter. I had one. I gifted it to my sister, who's learning, thankfully, watering her plants. I think her first few plants that she had, I would go visit her and be like, you're watering them too much. Like, these are just soaked every time I come over. But she's finally gotten to a schedule. She's finally doing really well with it. I mean, I'm still learning. You're never done learning on your plants that you have. Sorry, I have a cheat sheet. Plants need watering. Oh, so to tell when they need to be watered other than their soil, some of their foliage will start drooping. I really like my peace lily. It tells me when it needs to water. It's very dramatic. It droops. It looks like it's dying, but it's not. It just needs water. So I let it soak up water. I let it sit, soak up water, and I take it out, and it's perfect for like a week or two, and I don't need to touch it. I don't need to water it. It'll show me when it needs to be watered. It's very dramatic. Some of them, they get weird, almost like wrinkly leaves, if they're more of like a succulent type plant. Hoyas will do this too. You'll see the veins in their leaves. They'll look like they're dry. Weird. It like the moisture sucked out of them. That's when they need to be watered. A lot of them will droop. Anything like that. You can also check if you've had a plant for a long time, and you lift it and you're like, oh, that's really light. Water it. It probably needs water because water's heavy. You're gonna feel the weight of your plants. That's how I like to water, is I lift up my plants. If I'm like, oh, that's still kind of heavy, I don't need to water it. Because I've had most of my plants for a while. If it's a new plant, I'll learn, you know, after about a month or so of keeping it on a water schedule, testing the soil, watching the foliage, and then, you know, lifting it every time. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it feels like when it needs to be watered. It's nice, cool things to learn. So how I water is, I'm gonna grab this, sorry. I use an extra pot. I'm still in my PJs, I'm so sorry. I changed my shirt though, so it's not my jammy shirt. I grab one of these, catch pot, catches anything. It's literally like a sauce bowl. I put my plant in there so when it pees out of the bottom hole, it's not getting everywhere. And the water that I use is tap water. You can use buckets outside, catch rainwater. I've just am really bad at watching it and when I need to bring it inside because it starts getting mosquito larvae, and there's ways you can avoid that with mosquito bits and stuff in your buckets. But I have animals at my house. I don't want them drinking out of that water because mosquito bits are poisonous to animals, obviously. It's killing mosquito larvae. So I try to avoid bugs. So I fill up my watering cans the day before I need to water, or as soon as I'm done watering, I fill them back up and I let them sit in an area where they're not going to get knocked over. So I've heard mixed things on letting your water sit. A lot of people say you let it sit, all the chemicals evaporate after a while, you know, 24 hours. A lot of people say that doesn't do a lot with city water. I'm right outside the city, so I think our water is fine. I've been watering a lot of my plants with it. I think there's only one that's had an issue, and it's my Maranta plant. That's it. Just, there's some chemicals in here that you can't get out. You can use distilled water. You can buy that at the store. You can use natural rainwater that I've said before. You can use filtered water. It's really how picky you and your plants are. I'm not too picky with my water. I let it sit for 24 hours or more in the cans and let it evaporate what it needs to evaporate out. I'm not really sure what it does. It makes me feel better. So when I water, if it's compacted soil, use a chopstick to break up the soil. It'll be hard. The soil will be hard to get through. It'll literally look like a stone, like you can't get your finger through it. That's compacted. So you want to poke holes in it to aerate, to let the water through, and then water till it pees out of the bottom. And I like to do it twice. So I water it, let it soak through, and I might not have watered it enough. It'll start peeing out of the bottom when it's gone through. Oh, this thing was, there we go. So it's peeing out of the bottom right now. So I heard from another plant person, the 3 W's, water, wait, water. So I water, I let it pee out of the bottom, I wait, and if I need to, if it's a really dry plant, I will water it again. Some people bottom water it, which is put them in a saucer of water, let it soak up what it needs for about 10 minutes, and then take it out, and then just not water it. It helps with keeping the soil not compacted. It helps aerate, not aerate, it helps avoid the soil getting compacted. I do that with some plants, especially if they're really, really dry. I'll water them from the top and let them sit in the saucer of water when they leak out of the bottom, and just let them soak that up. But I only do it for about 10 minutes because after that it's just sitting in water and you don't want that to happen. I don't have anywhere to put this extra water. So I'm definitely going to toss this water and let it sit out. It's good until I need to water it again. And that's that on watering. And next up is cleaning the leaves.